Okay, are you ready?
Live.
Thank you, even better.
There you go.
Now is everybody ready? I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Brewery District Historic District Commission. Just as a set of information, the next business meeting is Thursday, November 16th at 12 p.m. In room 205, which is not this room, right?
No, not this room.
Right.
The room next door.
The room next door. Very important that you guys all get that. And the next hearing is Thursday, December 7th at 4 p.m. in this room. I'd like to swear in the staff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but, Miss Sophie?
I do.
Thank you very much. Would you guys like to be sworn in as well?
Sure.
And do you guys swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
Thank you very much.
I was just wondering if we all should swear in at the same time.
No, it was I was just making sure they felt included. I'd like to have the commissioners introduce themselves, starting with Commissioner Leisure.
Matt Leisure.
Joe Brewery.
Daniel Mather.
Debbie, any put on?
And I'm Cynthia Hunt. Welcome. Anything that we need to talk about public forum wise? It looks like we have an agenda item.
We do have one item for the forum. Speakers are here. We're going to take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie.
Great.
Hello, commissioners. I'm Mark DeRillis, the Planning Division Administrator, and Jamie Goodman, Historic Preservation Officer. And we're here tonight to go back to a topic that I think you've all heard from us on several times. And we're actually here tonight requesting a vote, your recommendation on this topic to incorporate the Brewery District Commission into the Historic Resources Commission. Additionally, to add 2 members to the HRC from the Brewery District Commission. And I'll hit my bullet points. You've heard these before. I'll try to be quick. And, Jamie could jump in and you all jump in at any point. You all know, you have been serving now us well, and the Brewery District Commission, previous commissioners have served us well for many years. We're pursuing this really, it was a recommendation of a 2008 working report that the Planning Division did with all the architectural review commissions. And actually, we don't have it with us tonight, but it was signed by all the chairs at the time, and it recommended this. And when Jamie and I came into our leadership roles, we've had a number of ideas, and one was to create efficiencies in the work we do. When we went back to this report, we said, why not? Nobody had really ever picked it up and pursued the recommendation. So we're pursuing it, and we've been after it now for a few years, and the timing is now for us. We have an opportunity to advance this. We feel firm in our recommendation, first and foremost, because the exact same standards and code will remain in place, the district will remain intact, and that we know that the Historic Resources Commission is up to the charge, that the same level of diligence and design review and preservation would be in place. And indeed, there would be allocated 2 Brewery District seats on the HRC.
Which would bring that membership up from 7 members to 9 seats, making it larger than any of the other commissions and reinforcing the citywide focus that the Historic Resources Commission has.
We don't have anything written for you tonight, but in previous conversations with you all, there was an ask for us to do some additional research. And I do want you to know 2 topics to address. One is that we did have staff go back and confirm all the research that was done in the 2008 report that noted that our peer cities, of all the peer cities we reviewed, 82% actually have one commission. The HRC is their Historic Resources Commission. So that was a basis in 2008 and remains today for moving to having 1 less actual commission in Columbus, from going to 5 to 4. So, we wanted to share that. There was also interest in previous discussions of kind of knowing what our broader plans were for this effort. And I'll say frankly that right now, we're advancing this effort. There is no broader plan beyond this. We see this as a somewhat strategic opportunity because the number of applications in the brewery district has been consistently the lowest of all the commissions, and we know that the HRC could take them on. So that's the reason, that's one of the bases for doing this. That, you know, we really don't see any other opportunities for the HRC to bring in the volume that is addressed by our other commissions. So we're being somewhat strategic there. So these is responses to a couple of questions that have come up in the past. I also just wanted to know really one more thing, that while this move would not necessarily create, how much time it would create for staff, we don't know exactly. But we do know that it would create some time within our staffing. And we want to allocate that time towards broader preservation goals in the city. We really think the future is we in the planning division and the preservation community in Columbus generally need to be looking to neighborhoods that don't have the benefit of design review and architectural protections today, and that we need to, at a minimum, raise awareness of preservation in those areas, communities of color. I mean, we've all been living in the same world the last few years. So, you know, Jamie has represented to me, if it's a Northland community, or it could be King Lincoln, Bronzeville, that these are areas where we would like to have staff the opportunity to engage some folks, to identify opportunities, you know, important people, important places, and so forth. So this is part of what we're trying to do here, is to create these opportunities.
In particular, the ability to uplift other stories. There are more stories to tell than just surrounding the central business district of what is now downtown. In particular, we talk about new Americans is something that we need to be thinking about wholeheartedly at this point. Communities on our east side need more attention. We need to have preservation that isn't necessarily just driven by design review, what you can and can't do. It's about lifting up and how can we help, and how can we illuminate other stories that are all part of the fabric that makes the culture of the city of Columbus. And small opportunities like freeing up more staff time to follow things that we only have germinating right now. It is a central goal of us moving forward. And frankly, preservation in the city of Columbus in the next 50 years.
So apologies for popping in here this relatively last minute. But we're doing it because we are hoping to bring legislation to council in December. Our schedule is, we're asking you to make a recommendation tonight. We're really within, and if there were a motion, it could be the first paragraph of the handout was as simple as that, to incorporate the Brewery District Commission into the HRC and to add 2 seats onto the HRC representing the BDC or the Brewery District area. And we then, you know, provided we do hope to go to the HRC this month and ask for their recommendation. We briefed the chair today, and then we would submit legislation in December. So again, apologies for dropping in, but you know, the level of comfort that we felt in doing that is just based on the previous conversations we've had over the years. You know, we wouldn't do this if we hadn't discussed this with each of you on a number of occasions. And with that, you know, we're happy to talk, answer any questions
That we could answer.
Are there questions? Comments?
I guess, is there a transition period for current applicants going through Brewery District to HRC?
We believe that if everything followed legislation, council action, that a date of February 1st would move applications into the HRC.
Do we know that that would be, so you want to actually move new applications in, or you rather close applications down in the BDC?
Applications take the time that they take. And so moving into another body of review, especially given the fact that 2 seats from the existing commission will be on the HRC, there's no need to close them out. But there is sufficient time to February 1st to be able to do that as well, I would say. Depending on the projects
Depending on the project.
and yes, the complexity of questions.
Wasn't one of the stated reasons, maybe a year or so ago, that it was, the reason for doing this was to streamline the process, to make it easier for applicants as part of Columbus's streamlined zoning initiative to consolidate these commissions under the historic preservation limits. Is that still true?
Well, in so much as this commissioned area, so the Brewery District
Right.
being pulled into the Historic Resources Commission, is a streamlining of our functions by having one less review body, and the clarity that folks in smaller individual listings and our scattered sites with a citywide focus are easily understood to be under the Historic Resources Commission. But Mark said it, I want to say even more clearly, is that this is not a move to remove all these commissions. There isn't anything like that. This is an opportunity, and it's not based upon the excellent work that's been done in the past and what continues to be done now. It's just as important. It's about taking that function somewhere else.
I believe that. I believe that should be a reason. And I understand that you maybe don't want to write it here because you're not doing it to every historic commission. One comment. If the folding of this commission and the Historic Resources Commission is about equity and paying attention to historically underserved areas of town, keeping the Durham Village Commission, I understand why it's being kept, but since it's such an affluent area, it kind of runs counter to that thinking.
You know, I think it's safe to say that if either one of us, let alone you all, could start from scratch today, we'd make some different moves. And even within my career, I mean, just to be frank, we established the East Franklinton Review Board about a decade ago now, and it was
Yeah.
our first staff person here today, one of your fellow commissioners. And we considered it a tremendous success because it's really allowed for, a variety of development, and the design review has been there. We consider it a huge success. But now we're revising the zoning code. And as I, personally approached that, I was like, was that the right move, or could we have, built it? It's challenging. So, if we could start from scratch today, I think we would do things differently. This is really, in many ways, we see this as a really pretty minor adjustment, and it's a step in the right direction. That's kind of, if that makes sense.
Understand.
And
It's about finding efficiencies. And it sounds
exactly,
bad, but
right.
efficiency.
We play a fair amount. More and more I observe, it's like we play a fair amount of small ball, and it's just because it's the world we live in. And yet, if it's going in the right direction, then we go for it. We're like, why not? Because a lot of times we at the city could get hung up and not advancing things that are imperfect, and we get hung up, and then we're hung up. So we're like, let's advance. This is something we can advance, and then we'll move on to the next one.
And Daniel, really, preservation shouldn't be tied to affluence or lack of it. We should see the evolution of being able to look at these properties, these resources, the stories of people in different ways, and let the way we lift them up evolve. And in 1964, there was a way to protect a certain neighborhood, and it was we'll create a commission and we'll start doing it. And there's just other ways to do that. And I think we need to look to the future and keep trying to evolve. That doesn't mean that we cut ties to our past. Of course not, when we're talking about preservation, but that we look towards the future and how we can really spread preservation in ways that can touch a lot of different kinds of people.
I've got such a second. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, well, I think the fifth and sixth bullet points to me are the important ones on the sheet, which are the, you know, allowing you all to do more proactive preservation planning, which, you know, personally, I know that that's been something that we need to do more of in Columbus. So I agree with that. And I think we've been talking about this, this concept for a while. And I think the case count has stayed pretty consistently low. That hasn't really varied since I've been on the commission. So there have been times when we've had no cases. And other times when we've had, you know, 4 or 5, but generally it's been much lower to your point than other commissions. So I understand that as well.
And if we're successful with this, Matt, I think I think of Landmarks, you know, we're gonna be knocking on Landmarks' door, you know, because obviously Landmarks is always doing, you know, proactive things and working into the same realm of bringing preservation to a broader audience and so forth. And we just want to be supportive of that. We want to find time to be supportive of that.
Continue to build those key partnerships.
Exactly.
And do meaningful work throughout the city, not just in a few spots.
I support this effort primarily because of the 6th bullet, which is the low volume comes through this organization. I am concerned about several things that I just want to get on the record. I'm concerned about having 2 votes in a group of 9 means that we have to be really good, whoever moves over there, to convince the Historic Resources Commission's perspective that is based in the neighborhood that we have. I hope the people that we move over there are that good. And I hope there's an openness on the HRC to the perspective that those members would bring. I am frankly, I'm such a fan of the 5th bullet and so get it. And so would like you guys to be able to really expand that dimension of your programming, that to only have it be the Brewery District Commission feels wrong to me. I would really like to know that there is a longer term perspective and strategy out of the office that moves toward best practices in other cities of similar size and scale. I think I'm disappointed that that's not part of the conversation, I guess, and that we're only focusing on BDC.
Yeah. And we take that input very seriously, I'll have you know, and, you know, my note to myself is that we need to carry that input, you know, to our leadership, because agree. And so absolutely, you know, and as far as like the HRC and 2 members, I mean, you could comment, Jamie.
Yeah, I can't see a time when it's neighborhood voting as a block against another.
Okay,
It's
so
really just not the
it's not
way
a binary.
that, frankly, any of these commissions or design review boards work.
And as far as that goes, our staff reports and, you know, Jamie, as you may know, or if you don't, in his time as preservation officer, you know, is diligent in reviewing every staff report that leaves the office. And it points to code and it points to guidelines.
Right.
And we're working with staff in order to make sure they're well represented. So, you know, that continuity will be carried forth.
I think we all take very seriously our responsibilities with Brewery District
It's shown.
and want to make sure that we bring the level of focus and excellence that this commission has provided to the HRC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just conclude by saying that I have, like you said, I've been on the other side and understand the process, staff time input that goes through it. So any smaller wins in efficiency would be a overall larger win for the division. So definitely supported, but I echo all of the other comments that were before.
So I'll entertain a motion if there's no further discussion.
So I'll make a motion to, and do I need to read the first and third?
It's a good motion.
Yeah.
This covers it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to transfer the review authority of the Brewery District Commission to the Historic Resources Commission. Additionally, it's recommended that membership of the HRC be increased from 7 to 9 members, with at least 2 currently seated Brewery District Commissioners appointed to serve on the HRC.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for your
Awesome.
time.
Yeah, really
Service.
appreciate it. You know, and in all the thought that you put into this, we're gonna do justice and we'll proceed. So really appreciate it. And we will be in touch about members to serve on the HRC. And for those that won't go to the HRC, we're gonna bug all you to find spots on other commissions, by the way.
Yes.
We've got at least one and there's gonna be others. So, the service you provided, we're gonna parlay into other areas. So
I hope
It's
that
an
you
outstanding
all,
group.
I hope that you all choose to continue to serve and we have seats for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Adam,
So we can move on to the staff approvals.
I think we all have to bring our agendas back up. Okay, there we go. Yes.
So because we didn't have anything in October, there are a couple of staff approved applications that were moved from the October agenda into staff approval. And they were BD 23 09 006 at 740 South High Street for the construction of a new outdoor patio area. And then BD 23 10 003 at 503 South Front Street. To update the existing neon rope light sign with a faux LED, or with an LED faux neon rope light and shadow box lighting. And then from this month, we have BD 23 11 001 at 570 South Front Street. To install a new hose bib at the property. BD 23 11 002 at 115 West Whittier Street to replace an EPDM roof. BD 23 11 003 at 22 to 24 East Frankfurt Street to replace the attic windows. BD 23 11 004 51 West Bluntford Street to replace a damaged shingle roof. Sorry, that was all of.
Are there any questions on the staff approvals? Need to take a motion, I
Yes.
think. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the staff.
Thank you. Jennifer. Is there a second?
I say.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you.
And then if you've all had the chance to read the minutes from last meeting.
Yes.
that helps.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Any corrections or changes? I'll entertain a motion.
The motion
Thanks. To approve the minutes?
to approve.
Thank you.
Minutes.
Is there any discussion?
I'll second.
Oh, second, is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, ma'am.
So we can move on to our new applications. So our first application is VD 23 11 005 at 445 South Ludlow Street. Do we have the applicant here for this? No? Okay, well, we can circle back to that. I want
Alright.
to go. We can circle back to that one. BD 23 11 006 at 550 South High Street. And I can go through the staff report if the applicant would like to come
Yeah, if
up.
there's anybody who wants to join us at the table, feel free.
I'll just hang here.
And I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind sitting down and introducing yourselves for the record. Including
Yes.
who I believe to be the owner in the back of the second row.
Rebecca Mott with the Plink Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215.
Thank you.
I'm Angela Petro, the owner of the building, and my address is 231 East Sycamore Street, Columbus, 43206.
Thank you.
Dave Kerr, I'm the architect, DK Architects, and we're at 2960 Columbus Pike in Delaware. and that is 43015.
Thank you very much. Good. We'll have the staff reports first.
So the proposed work description is a variance recommendation request to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 41 to 31. I will note that this is only really a reduction of 5 spaces, as there is a previously approved variance from 41 to 36.
Okay.
Landscaping to expand the existing planting beds with a proposed evergreen hedge for the submitted documentation. Proposed aluminum planter boxes either side of the entry on South High Street. Proposed aluminum screen gates accessing the parking lot and South High Street. Proposed brick and cast stone pillars with globe light fixtures as support for the great fronting High Street, with the brick to be painted to match the existing building. Existing trees to remain, and various lighting for patio, including string lighting and ground lighting for the submitted documentation. Exterior building alterations to replace the current storefront windows with full light aluminum storefront windows on East Hoster Street. Replace the current operable wooden door with a fixed aluminum storefront window facing the patio. Replace the current storefront doors and side lights with full aluminum storefront doors and side lights. Reopen the currently closed opening with aluminum full light storefront doors and side lights and divided light transit. And install a new black aluminum canopy with recessed LED lighting above the entry on South High Street. And then some new construction, which would be a proposed new 16-foot by 32-foot aluminum framed awning structure with a vinyl top cover and mesh shade sidewalls, with the awning structure proposed to be 13 feet and 4 inches tall at its highest point. The staff analysis. Commissioners present at the business meeting requested that the property line be on the drawings and requested that the scope be clarified with a full-scale site plan with all proposed work shown. The commission also requested a project cut sheet or project information for the mesh material proposed for the side walls of the awning. The commissioners present did not understand the need to enclose the awning structure and requested an explanation for that request. Commissioners responded positively to screening the awning structure from the parking lot, but some concerns were raised about the height facing South High Street.
But sometimes what's it?
There was some concerns raised about the height facing South High Street.
All right. Thank you.
HPO staff is supportive of the parking reduction variance as the applicant informs staff that they have shared parking agreements with local parking garages. The reopening of the currently closed opening on the west elevation will be supported by staff. Staff encourages retaining the wooden door on the south elevation rather than installing a fixed window. Staff does not support the height of the aluminum gate, proposed columns, or new hedges that line the South High Street side of the patio, as the short north design guidelines on patios and outdoor dining state that outdoor spaces should not create visual or physical obstacles or hazards to adjacent buildings, streetscape elements, pedestrian travel, or thoroughfares. It is recommended by HPO staff that the awning above the main entry door be made of a soft canvas or vinyl material per the Brewery District guidelines for awnings and the short north design guidelines for awnings and canopies. The height of the awning is not supportable by HPO staff. As the structure is a permanent fixture, staff is referring to the Brewery District guidelines on outbuildings. These state that structures should not be so large as to be out of scale of the primary structure or the surrounding area. Staff notes that the mesh sidewalls of the awning structure should be hidden from view when rolled up and not in use per the short north design guidelines on awnings. And unpainted masonry should not be painted per the Brewery District guidelines and the short north design guidelines on painting. The staff recommendation is continuation of application BD 23-11-006 to allow the applicant time to bring the design in line with the applicable city code and guidelines. And the basis for this recommendation is City Code Section 3116.11, Standards for Alteration. City Code Section 3116.12, Standards for New Construction. City Code Section 3116.13, Standards for Site Improvements. The Brewery District guidelines on garages and outbuildings, awnings, painting, lighting, and commercial storefronts, and the short north design guidelines on awnings and canopies, lighting, site work and landscaping, and commercial patios and outdoor dining, and painting.
Did we miss any, Sete? Is there anything left?
That's all guidelines.
I missed the business meeting. Was everyone else at the business meeting?
Was? Yes. Yeah.
Okay, because both of us, would you guys be okay if we asked them to walk through the project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you guys mind walking through the project for us?
Sure.
How do you want to do?
Could we proceed with first the existing conditions and the variance request for parking, and then we'll get into the COA external changes?
I'm not prepared to speak to the variance, so I understand the project.
Okay, so she'd like to talk about the COA external changes. Is that what you just mentioned?
I'd like to talk about the project as a whole.
Okay.
And then let's come to the variance.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll just start.
That's fine.
Okay, so the property's already improved with a 14,329 square foot building. It's already the painted blue in the color photos you see, as well as having landscaped areas, patio areas, and parking spaces. There's also landscaped hedge walls and the 4 existing trees on the street trees that you see. We also have a dining lease with the City of Columbus right-of-way division for the sidewalk within the right-of-way for a dining patio.
Can I ask where the hedge walls are?
So, right. Yeah, I mean, I consider those.
In the planters.
Yeah, the planters have
Alright.
like hedge wall,
I don't
but we
think
also
that's-
have a new hedge wall that we show on the plan, so we'll talk about
Yeah, I know
that.
there's proposed hedge walls.
Okay.
You were saying it already existed, I didn't see it.
Okay, and there are 2 BZA variances granted to this property already in the history, as well as a council variance for uses as well as parking. So over time, with additions to the property, expansions to a mezzanine space inside, outdoor patios, or just external changes, there was a reduction of parking requirements down to 36. So before we start with any expansions, alterations on this proposal, the parking requirement is only 36. The parking as an existing condition shows 36, but now the proposal is to expand the outdoor patio from 806 square feet today to an additional 858 square feet for a total of 1664 square feet. So with that addition of the outdoor patio, we are going to have to remove some of the existing spaces, which were again 36. So with that, we're down to 31 with the removal. And then the patio states, because of zoning code requirements for adding patio, there's parking requirements for adding additional patio space. So with that, with the UCO reduction from the urban commercial overlay, there's only 5 more spaces needed. But since we've reduced some with the outdoor expansion of the patio, we have a parking space variance from 41, which would be the new requirement, down to 31. That would be the new existing condition after the proposed changes.
And with the additions that you've discussed, what's the
Mhm.
capacity of the building?
What's the capacity in your building of how many seated guests or, okay, I'll have Ms.
Yeah.
Cho answer
Okay.
the capacity.
The capacity right now is 330 for a standing event.
Okay.
That's very rare. They're generally seated events.
Right.
And if it's a served dinner, it's 220.
Okay. And so adding this space will take you to what?
I'm not exactly sure how to answer that, so I'll answer it the only way I know how.
That's fine.
The addition isn't in order to host larger events. It's in order to stay competitive in the market and to address the conditions that have existed since COVID with needing to space people out and have additional patio space.
So it's patio space, not seated dinners, it's patio space
Correct.
for standing cocktails.
Generally, it would be, we might have folks who would have a ceremony outside.
Okay.
We do quite a few of those, a cocktail hour prior to a gala or a benefit.
But we're still talking 225 seated, you think, with the addition? Ish.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the site already had a parking arrangement with a garage that was within 750 feet, which is the code standard for parking garage or parking agreements with off-site
Which garage
parking.
is that?
That was standard parking brewery parking garage,
Mhm.
and it is at Blankner Street. We can use 762 spaces there in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
That agreement continues today, and we have a renewed letter in the packet related to that.
Great.
In addition, we have a second garage agreement for the Grange parking garage, also within 750 feet. It is at 600 South Front Street. We are allowed to use 320 spaces of their 500 available spaces, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In addition, our employees of this property will use the parking garage spaces. And any guests that come to the property for a banquet or an event or any kind of, any kind of event will have use of the parking garage through a valet and attendant service that will serve the property at those times of events. Plus, there will be a concierge shuttle to take the guests and patrons to the garage to get their cars. So that's already programmed within the business model. It not only is a zoning code issue in terms of get your offsite parking somewhere nearby, but this applicant wants that as part of optimal and efficient business operations for competitive needs and also marketing needs and just best practices.
We appreciate your diligence there.
Sure. So those two letters should be in your packet for the support of the parking variance. And we only needed that one area variance for the parking. The staff for the city supports the variance from traffic to Parks and Rec, Planning Department and zoning. We had a very favorable short letter that I've ever seen in a zoning process from the city staff. So they're all in support. And we also filed, of course, the COA application, not just to capture the variance as well, but the external changes. So with that, I think we should talk through the proposed external changes to the property.
This big microphone in the middle also will capture your speaking.
Okay.
If you're not too soft.
All right. Actually, if you wouldn't mind, going to the next slide, yeah. Go one more. Yeah, that's good. So, so the intent of this project, as mentioned, was to add some covered patio space, and address the entrance, so that there was more of a formal entrance to the space. And so what we've done is expanded the existing patio, and surrounded it with shrubs that you'll see all the way around that. As it was mentioned earlier, we have a dining lease for that strip along High Street, along the property, and there is existing landscape beds where we are currently showing the landscaping in that dining lease. So we're not cutting up any more of the existing sidewalk. We're using what's there. The planters that you see on the left-hand side where the existing building is, you'll see 3 planters on each side of those doors. Those are mobile and rolling, so we're not cutting up any sidewalk for that either. And as mentioned, the height of the canopy is at 13 feet 4 inches. And the screened landscaping that surrounds it will be planted at 5 feet to grow and be maintained at 7 feet. And we feel there's a balance between the height of that in order to create the proper screening and privacy that the business needs to be functional. And also it is not tall enough that it is preventing views of the historic building. At the same time, it is screening the new, more modern addition patio covering that we're proposing. Couple other things to mention. So right now, in where it says concrete patio, there are 3 openings to the interior of the building. I'm going to start from the bottom left there.
If it would help you to stand up and
I'd be happy
do
to.
the diagram.
Yep.
If that would make it easier for you, we're happy to support that.
Awesome. So I wanted to address what we're doing in here. So the main entrance to the property now is off High Street here, or from parking lot, either coming around or we have this access point as well. On the interior of the building, this is the main event space. And this is the lobby that enters into the building. So at the beginning of an event, the,
Guests.
yes. Will enter into the building through this, entrance that we're adding. There is already an opening there that is, been barricaded up. And so we're removing that opening, putting, glass in that. So that's actually a historic opening that we're, opening back up again. This is already here, and we're replacing, the existing doors with new doors. So there's no change to the function of that. That allows for the guests from the event space to cross this entrance
To the unseated patio area, right?
to the.
That's the
It's
cocktail hour.
described as the unseated. That's
cocktail hour.
With the cocktail tables, all right, thank you. So they look remarkably like seated spaces to be.
I can speak to that just quickly. We could not host an event under that awning.
Yeah.
It simply would be, I mean, it's not a rain, it's
The
not,
good news is your
It's-
numbers are big enough, it doesn't matter, but. I
it's
just
not
had-
meant for that. It would be folly.
I understand that, okay.
So this entrance or this opening right here was mentioned in the report. There is a set of wooden doors that are there that are visible from the outside of the building. On the inside of the building, it's barricaded up. You can't even get to those doors. And I believe that those doors, aside from that, aren't very functional to begin with. So we are replacing that and we're putting storefront in that opening that matches the other two, the storefront and the other openings. In addition to that, we're replacing, we're adding these doors here, and then we're also proposing a canopy over the doors at the.
I want to go back to the doors. Those are not contemporaneous with the building. It was an open air building, right? Do you know?
What's that?
Originally, the wooden doors are not contemporaneous with the building. They're an later add-on. Yeah.
Yes,
All right. Thank you.
I think in a historic opening, but
Right, but they were not.
They were not, no.
Yeah,
I believe they were the doors to when the building was Hosters.
okay. That makes
That was
sense.
the main entrance of.
When
Hosters.
when did it convert to Hosters?
Maybe. I want to act like I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's
That's, pretty sure it was when?
I think it was
early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Do you know something?
I think it was 94, just based on the file.
Okay, thank you.
To address some of the other comments, these two piers are brick piers with the globe light at the top of them. And then we'll have a metal gate there on High Street. And just because I wasn't up here at the time, these dashed lines, this is the volumes right here. And right here is the extent of the existing landscape bed.
Do the members have the elevations in front of them?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what we're looking, that's what I'm looking.
Mhm.
thank you.
The canopy will be an aluminum canopy. It will have a black vinyl roof, and it will have mesh roller screens on.
For the additive space, right?
Yes.
Well,
We
you're proposing that.
we are proposing that.
Yeah.
We have samples of those materials if you'd like to.
Anything you guys would like to ask when I lighted the stage?
A question for staff. Did we give you a plan? Door that faces south, that's on it's proposed to be an infill aluminum storefront door in place of the wood screen. I think staff recommends not replacing that, is that correct?
No, it's the other door.
What's the other?
The wooden door, we.
The one that faces
we're
east?
Reopening that opening.
The one that faces east?
Yeah.
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 Or, I'm sorry, faces west, the one that faces west. The one on the back wall.
If you go to the first slide,
One of
it
the-
has the photos.
Sorry.
The wooden double door.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the wood doors that we were talking about earlier that are barricaded from the other side.
So it's just blacked out glass.
I'm not sure how glass is blacked out, but there's drywall there.
So you open the door and you walk
There's
in.
nothing there. There's nothing there, yeah. And then you see this is the other opening that's currently barricaded that we're gonna open that back up.
Why does staff not recommend fixing that door?
We wouldn't not, we just encourage retaining features that have changed over time. It's not something that we have hard set on. It was just an
Which
encouragement.
feature are you describing, the Hofstra stores or the other?
Because they've been there for around 30
The Hofstra
years.
stores?
Yeah,
Those doors we're looking at right now.
Yeah, okay, not the
Yes.
thing on the right,
nothing on the right.
okay.
But because that was an existing opening, that was a historic opening, we would.
But it doesn't,
support
it doesn't,
reopening.
it's not period for the building, that's why I was asking.
So it was just an encouragement. It wasn't like a, does not support.
I would feel differently if it was period for the building, a logical.
Yeah.
But
Us too.
is that your answer, Dave?
That is, yeah, exactly.
Other questions or? We have to go to landscaping still. I think.
I have more questions for staff. So
Yes,
there's reference to the short north guidelines about awnings.
yes.
So there are proposed canopies that are going to be, or proposed canopies that are going to be attached to the building.
We are closing the canopy, this entrance.
Yep.
And one more side entrance. This entrance here.
So the short north guidelines are being referenced as canvas awnings for those.
Yes.
But what's over the door on the left in the upper left-hand corner is metal, right?
It's an I-beam,
It's what?
a metal I-beam.
There aren't any.
There's no awning on it.
Right.
Yes, so for awnings over doors, we would consider that an awning rather than a canopy. It's just recommended that soft canvas or vinyl coverings are more historically.
I guess we look at this as more of an industrial building, and so we are gravitating toward doing it more of a steel type of canopy over those doors or awning over those doors.
If I could add, that was one of the original trolley barns.
Yeah,
on the
I
High
would think of
Street
it as,
system. So
as industrial. though.
on the inside, it's a very industrial. There's a lot of, I mean, we retained all of the character of the ceiling. So it's very, very much an industrial informed piece of architecture.
And it would be, metal would be a variance.
It wouldn't be a variance.
It would, you know, I mean, it'd be variation from, it'd be
Yes.
unusual for us to recommend that.
Yes, but it does say in the short north guidelines that alternative materials.
I know,
can
but I'm
be
back
assessed
to-
on a
I'm
case
back-
by case.
I'm back to our track record.
Yes,
Have we allowed metal awnings like that?
it does say in the short north guidelines that alternative materials can be assessed on a case by case basis.
But have we, as a commission, done that? You
You
don't?
could-
so.
you could assess that as like a case by case basis.
I think we have done.
And
So
so
there is precedent.
I think there's precedent.
we just approved the repainting and relettering of shadow. Giant shadows canopy stuck to the side of the building.
It wasn't in the meeting, so don't.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like,
Yeah.
And the white awning there that's above, that's proposed to be removed.
the staff
That
proposed to remove
that gets
that.
removed.
It does get removed?
You're okay with removing that? Or you used to call that historic fabric?
5 Pond from 1994.
I guess. That's.
I don't want to
something
put words in
that
your
I
mouth.
missed.
We don't want to put words in your mouth, whatever you're comfortable with. So
That is something that I have missed. I, don't know what it's constructed of.
There is nothing historic.
no, we got that. Yeah, we got.
It's just, it will be a concern for staff to remove something that is attached into the masonry, so, just be making sure that the masonry is repaired correctly.
Right.
And that is stucco there, so it'll just be repairing the stucco.
Seamlessly.
Yes.
Is there any kind of, have you got the arch over the window going forward? Is there any other brickwork underneath that, do you know?
There is brick behind the stucco.
No, but the way that brickwork is marks the window is what I'm asking. Is there something over the 1994 doors or whatever year it was? That would be similar? That'd be a great reason to take down that one thing.
I don't know, but if that's what we found, we certainly would keep it.
Yeah, you have to keep it and make sure it was repaired nicely.
It's hard to, I mean, the stucco kind of runs underneath this, so we might pull that off and the brick underneath might be exposed. We just have to patch it in.
With careful conversations with Sophie about how to do it historically appropriate. Okay,
Certainly.
great.
Certainly.
And that could be put into the motion.
Yeah. That's a good point. What else, Daniel?
Look, I'm in favor of canopies. I know there's
You're in favor of what?
the canopies.
Yeah,
The metal
the
canopies.
metal canopies, right?
I think they're in line with other buildings in the area. I don't think the short growth guidelines are sufficient. They're called short growth guidelines here. I see.
I would support that because I believe we have precedent. Can you live with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it holds the integrity of the
Yeah.
building.
And I don't
I
think,
don't think it's industrial, but
what's that?
I don't think of it as industrial,
No.
cottage industry or something.
I think the exterior changes are fine. I think the changes to the building in my mind are all appropriate, this commissioner's opinion. I think some of the landscape elements are unpleasing.
Are out of scale. I'm not crazy about the globes, I have to say. They don't seem right to me.
I almost feel like the storefront needs more divided lights, so it relates more to the clear stores above.
You're saying the single pane elements?
Yeah, just so it's not a sheet of glass, just to, create more divided lights, make it a little bit more industrial.
So I can give you a little bit of history, recent history about the glass. So this is existing up here. It is the variety of divided lights where there's a screen inside.
It's not real.
Their external
real divided.
application on the
Oh,
front and the
they're
back. Yeah, they're not even on the interior. They're exterior on the front and the
They
back.
are on the exterior, okay.
So really it's a single pane of glass with something pasted.
Correct.
And then, in recent months, there was actually a car that drove into the building. And,
The third one.
yeah,
And the
and,
third part?
yeah, and so,
That was the technique to break in, part of the door? Seems a little extreme.
so some of this has been repaired, but what we're proposing is that we move forward without trying to mimic these quasi divided lights with just, straight storefront.
I actually don't mind it because I think of the car barn as big and open with stuff coming in and out, and it feels like that gives it more of a historic, that's where. And I guess I'm not crazy about the globes, but the pillars don't feel right to me yet. But the entrance on to the new entrance is, what gate is that? Do you have a picture of what that looks like?
It is a metal gate, and I believe we have images of the materials.
I guess we should thank you for not doing that to the other door.
It's mostly the paint, right?
Why are you being so strong in that gate and not strong at all with the front door?
I'm not sure I understand the
The
question.
physical, it reads as stop to me on the gate, and open and welcoming on the glass doors. So it feels out of place, because you want people to come in here, I think. So it feels wrong.
Yeah,
And you're only preventing them from not stomping on your, I mean, they're gonna stomp on your greeter. There's nothing really stopping them from getting in, right? So what's the thinking behind it?
well, actually, I think,
That's my question as well. So like, walk us through why you really want to have almost a outdoor room that's fully separated from High Street.
I I will speak and then, Angela, if you want to add to it. So, a couple of things. I think there's a privacy concern. I think that there is the busyness of South High Street that, we would like to screen from the event that's going on. I
Why
think,
wouldn't you be doing that to the main doors though, as well?
so, right on High Street.
Well, that's my problem, is that it feels like they're two different buildings.
So we
And
have,
you want people to come in the door you're closing off.
well, I think the idea is that when, the event is open and guests are entering, those gates are wide open.
Okay.
When the event is going on, those gates are closed. There's also been, security problems with the property.
Right.
And while you're correct, landscape that doesn't keep people from walking through it, it's a visual barrier and it separates the property from, people, who are walking up and down South High Street.
Some might call it an invitation. I don't know. Yeah, I get the visual barrier and I get that, it's gonna be open. It feels out of whack.
Angela, do you have any comments?
You understand what I'm saying?
Can you say it in a different way? Because I want to make sure I'm addressing the right concern. When you say out of whack,
Yeah, do other people agree with me?
I
When you
think
look
the
at
scale,
front facade? Yeah,
The scale
the
and.
scale and the opacity, yeah.
so I can speak to the opacity piece. I think the scale is something that is not in my purview. I'll start with the privacy issue.
Mhm.
There's, what you can't see on this is there's a bus stop directly in front of those glass doors. And that's great, and we love being in an urban neighborhood. It makes it easier to hire people. It also makes it very interesting when we have events. There is a homeless challenge in that area. When we purchased the property, some of you may remember that we took down a 2-story billboard that was in our parking lot that was basically an encampment. We have had people walk in and hide under dinner tables. I could write a book. Who have walked in and hidden under the tablecloth of dinner tables until dinner started and then snuck out. So we're always managing the fact that we are literally on High Street in an event space, which we love, and that it poses some challenges because of where we're positioned in the neighborhood. From a security standpoint, or a perceived security standpoint of our guests, in the last few years since COVID, we've had nearly $100,000 worth of damage done to vehicles, people driving into the building. It's been very interesting. So we're trying to balance how we create some screening and security for our guests and for the people that are working at the event, and still meeting guidelines that this body is going to be comfortable with. We can't make it Fort Knox, but it still needs to feel like, I kind of refer to it as an urban oasis 2 blocks south of downtown. Without the ability to do that, it's difficult to justify what I'm putting into the project. So I first stood in front of you a little over 10 years ago. And if I knew now what I knew then, I would have done all of the improvements, because now we're going back and putting over what we put into when we bought the building and renovated it 10 years ago. I'm finishing the job now. I'll pause, or I could talk for quite a while. So what other clarifications do you have around that?
Let me just say that we really appreciate you in the neighborhood. We want to help you figure this out.
Yeah.
So don't take our comments as anything other than constructive.
Never have.
Okay, good.
Never will.
Can you go back to the front facade? No, I'm sorry, you were, the proposed facade, I'm sorry, wasn't this one? Yeah. I mean, how are we gonna deal with the fact that people are driving in your windows on the left? Feels like that needs to,
I'd
I
love
feel
an
like
answer
rather
to
than
that.
having, I mean, I was gonna say make the one on the right feel more open. But maybe the one on the left needs to feel like it belongs in a way that gives you a little more protection. I know that's heresy, but I'd be interested in what the other commissioners have to say.
And so in an event, is your intent to lock the front doors and have the main access be the
Yeah.
courtyard?
Yes, those doors are always locked.
Okay,
Yeah, it could be that, let's say that we have a wedding happening in that event, which 50% of our business is weddings. And that they're using that patio for their ceremony, which is highly likely. Then we would probably take them through the front door in order to attend the ceremony portion, and then those doors are locked again and they
It's
have
very
to be.
ceremonial, very, and not frequent.
It's not frequent. To be fair, we wanted to convert those to windows, let's do more screening, and then make our egress on the north facing wall. There's an elevation problem and there's a parking sign directly in front of the doors, so that we couldn't actually have that be an entrance where guests could safely walk in and out of the door after having cocktails, because there's a sign right there. So that was the direction that we wanted to pursue, and we couldn't. The city wasn't going to relocate, parking meters or parking signs and parking areas.
During an event, would you ever take those boxes on wheels and move them over the door to prevent people from seeing in?
I don't hate that at all.
For the egress.
Oh, yeah. Egress.
But the idea of these planters here is for screening for that glass.
Right. If I'm the only one who's focused on this, that's fine. But
no, I mean,
yeah,
I think that the planters make some sense in that it gives you a little bit more protection in front of the building. I wish that wasn't an issue, but it's a trend, it seems like, so I think that to me makes some sense as a strategy. So I think my questions are more on the courtyard, but probably should, yeah.
So take that, think that.
I don't necessarily mind piers, I just don't think the scale is quite right.
Great.
And the,
Yeah,
Almost
'cause I think
7
it
feet.
starts to really block the back portion a little bit too much for me. There's different ways that you can probably frame that opening with the piers and with the gate that you're proposing.
So maybe shorter or lighter looking piers and doors that maybe are more transparent than what's there.
If I think about a wedding being held there, right, I get the need for privacy. I mean, so if there's a middle ground, I think is the question. But I would not object now, given that I understand the
Yeah.
usage.
So my take is, if that was a layered kind of system, so I think the best patios that are in this area have like a solid material, like a transparent fence of some kind with piers that link that together, and then they have landscaping that provides a little buffering. I realize that's a much more expensive scenario than what you're showing here, but I think from a security standpoint, that's gonna be much better than waiting for a hedge to grow in over 3, 4, 5 years, to the extent that you want it on that plan.
Is
So,
there a good example that you would cite, or a couple?
I mean, I think like, Lindy's patio is a great example where there's a little bit of mystery and you can kind of see in, but not really, and there's pretty clear separation. That's the best one I can think of right off the top of my head, but there's lots of other examples too.
Yeah, no, it definitely pretty solid base.
Right. I mean, the idea of a courtyard there makes all sense. It's just how it's executed.
And I mean, I'm sure no one else would ever think about a gas light on those lights. I think it could be really romantic.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in German Village, where I live, you're not allowed to propose a gas light if it's new construction.
Were you okay
They
with
don't
gas light?
approve, or certainly you can propose anything you want, but they don't approve gas lights in German Village, so that didn't even come up as an option. But I don't know, like bringing gas up there for us would be,
Expensive, I know.
And there is no gas, it's,
If you don't have any, that doesn't make sense.
That's a question I've never been asked before.
Can you look it up for
I
us?
can check.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think there's lots of options for light fixtures
Yeah.
on top of those.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
yeah,
I just was getting into the wedding theme and the
Yeah.
Asian building.
it would be lovely.
I think it'd be better, well,
Somebody could use same kind of
it'd be
light.
more subtle to have the light fixtures on the pier themselves as a downlight.
At this point, I believe that's, other than in the structure, that's the only additional lighting, other than ground lighting that
The
we've,
ground lighting landscape.
right.
Yeah, we're just saying, I don't think it belongs with this design.
Style wise.
So,
It feels too monolithic to me.
I think that's something we can look at.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of how transparent or opaque the landscaping is something that we might need to discuss. Because I know that that was an important part of the design.
it's the differentiator for us to be able to have that feel like a green space. This close to downtown.
And those are just arborvitae?
I
They're
don't remember.
Texas.
Okay. Yeah. And we're okay with that, right? Matt?
I think generally, yes, although as a species, but my thing is just the total opaque design. I think a little bit of communication between High Street and your courtyard is important. And I think that's what the guidelines are pointing to.
But the usage pattern is really, somebody's getting married there, they don't really want somebody peering in on them. I would say that maybe there's something that you can add to it at the time of the wedding, that's a movable, portable.
So part of your strategy is with that is the pergola structure, your structure, right, with your drum screens, yeah.
So we want to support your usage. But think about options. What else, you guys?
You want to talk about the pergola?
Sure.
Sophie, can you remind me what the staff recommendation for the pergola?
We wouldn't split the height of the structure. We would, because it's a permanent structure and it's not something that can be put up and down, we're treating it as an outbuilding. So just that the height is out of proportion.
What should it be? According to guidelines.
Just in proportion as a subordinate building.
You don't think it's in proportion the way it continues the line of the roof?
Feel that it is too tall to be a subordinate structure.
The top of that is at 13 feet.
13 feet.
I feel like it's flirting with the building.
I think it works in 2D elevation, but
Yes.
I don't know if you'd ever,
Which side were you from? Oh, no.
I don't think you'd ever really fully understand it from the street. Because you really never see 2D, it's most.
See kind of the roofs to that.
I think we have some perspectives. That's sheet. Okay.
I like it because it gives you room to see the rest of the historic building. If that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, we feel that it complements the building, it's set back, so it's not, hiding this front portion of it. Right, keeping the angle of the shed roof on this addition piece to the building. And we felt when you're in that space, it's the appropriate height. This is still the higher element. And the structure that grounds that space. This is more transparent, it's a little bit lower.
It reminds me of the New York City pandemic, the little huts outside the restaurants.
Right.
Where people go.
The screens come all the way to the floor.
They do, yes.
And the
Yeah,
screen
they-
comment was you have to wrap it up if you're not using it. Is that
They're
what-
automatic, they're
Okay.
programmed to go all the way up, and I think that the best practice is they have to be up when it's not in use or they're.
So the screens are actually at this line elevation right here.
Right.
So this piece here is not screened.
Because of the trees, you didn't think you needed to.
Probably just the way screens work. So they will roll up, and be,
Oh, I see.
behind that horizontal member.
This is just a functional question. So you have 4 columns on the north elevation. Does that work with your functional use or, I'm not, that's a,
Yeah, so, the economical way to build the structure, and allowing for, the automatic screens, the greatest width you could do on those screens is 8 feet. And
okay, so that's a function
that
of the
determines
screens
the-
more there.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So the screens would be, they would wrap around to the north elevation too, except
Yeah.
for the middle piece.
That's correct.
Okay,
Is that correct, Dave, or are they only on 3 sides? I thought,
They're on 3 sides, I'm sorry if I'm.
yeah, so the north
Okay.
face does not have any screen.
okay,
This,
okay. So what I'm getting at is, could you eliminate those 2 columns on the north just to make it more open for your functional use or maybe not? And then that's just a question.
Sort of question.
yeah, so, we only have. Yeah, so we have 4 columns on the north side and we've removed the center.
Right, right.
So that, yeah, so functionally you can go into that space. with
You're
your
asking if you
screen.
can get rid of the other 2.
Yeah, I'm asking if, to just to keep it looking light and open, what I'm getting at is, can we eliminate?
Oh, the other ones?
Yeah.
Structurally, we want to keep those other 2 columns.
Okay, okay. So,
And I don't think we have anything like this that we have ever
Correct.
approved. And I'm the neophyte in the room, not an architect, I'm an architectural historian. Is that gonna be a hazard in my witness?
So we are working with, Columbus Awnings and they are experts at designing and building these and they have, they've done hundreds of these, so.
yeah,
Okay, so don't worry.
and that's on them. Yeah, so-
Well, it's also on the city of Columbus, to get permit for construction. So engineering
It's
shows.
considered a structure?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the pergola in general. I think if you did lower it, it might make it feel a little bit more tucked into the greenery, a little bit more hidden.
Yeah,
But I think you wouldn't be able to see the architectural detail through it the way you can now.
That's true.
Oh, too late. Oh, I see what you mean.
So yeah, you can see it and
Yeah.
to me, it speaks to, I look at it. And I think the line of the roofs makes sense to me.
I agree. I like that it's not touching the building.
I do too. I think it's creative.
so I think probably what would be helpful just for us is, if you could show some examples from around the Brewery District of some of these patio spaces or elsewhere that you think are comparable-ish to what you're trying to accomplish. I think that might be beneficial. Same way with the screening, just so we can see some benchmark imagery.
But if we are,
Screening meaning landscape.
yeah,
Yes.
if we are truly shutting down, which I think we are in February, assuming city council passes it, we need to fast track these guys unless you want to go to the historic research.
I think we're doing well here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're collaborating with you guys pretty well. So the faster you can get it done, the better. So if we're trying to get it done, approved next time, what do they need to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it.
Okay.
Personally, like, for me, patio space, great, variance, no problem. The front entrance, all good. The overhead pieces on the building, I think makes sense. It's just that high street edge, really, that's the only concern from my side.
100% agree.
So
Right.
I think it just needs a little more development and figure out how to, meet some of the guidelines, because we do use those, so I think that's important, yeah.
I think I'm in the same place. I mean, I like, fine with everything else except for the entry gate
Yep.
configuration.
Can I say
And I
back
want
what
to
I
help
heard?
you with your problem for the main entrance,
Okay.
for the main windows.
So if, as I understood it, it's the pillars feel too imposing. The light at the top doesn't feel consistent with the vibe of the building, and then you'd like to see something that's more airy or more welcoming
But
while still
solve-
providing
while
us
still
with.
solve your
Got
problem.
it, okay.
And I'm interpreting that, not as smaller and more transparent, but maybe lighter and more translucent
or layered.
or layered.
I think layered is a very good term, so if it's
You could bring.
a hard edge with architectural elements coupled with landscaping, that I think that starts to resolve some of my concerns at least. And that's what you see in some of those benchmarks that's referred to.
Okay.
I guess the only other question I have is, so these people standing over here on the right, they're trying to slip in between the are you gonna have that as a problem? Are people gonna try, are you better off with some kind of planter? Bottom? Yeah, so they can't stomp through, really prevent that? I get that's money, so maybe not, but
Oh, no, we've had so many conversations around this.
well, thanks for inviting us to the party.
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting few years in terms of how we've had to manage this piece of property.
Yeah.
And very,
I just think that if you're trying to keep people from walking through there, I mean, I love this fact these people are positioned where they are.
I also like that they could just turn sideways. And
Yeah,
slide in.
exactly.
They're made out of
It
paper.
just seems like you might be better served with something, a little more permanent feeling or obstructionist. So they'd have to step up into a planter box to get through.
Right. We'll,
With spikes.
we'll kind of take a step back and look at that.
I would approve this, but it's your call. It's just
Yeah.
trying to get into the spirit of what you're trying to do with the building. Unless everybody who comes to your parties is very, very, which we know is not the case.
I
Okay.
wanted to address one other staff comment.
Sure.
So they correctly indicated that they don't, approve painted brick.
Right,
So the building is already painted.
right.
And so the only painted brick are those new piers, which we would paint to match the building.
Because they're new bricks.
That's right.
Would you rather use historic bricks?
We just don't support painting masonry as part of our guidelines. That's what we vote on.
Just approved.
We do, yeah.
Down the street that was built after historic guidelines.
I think we've had this conversation before where we think that it's okay if it's modern.
That is the commission to decide. I have to go based on
Right,
our
absolutely.
guidelines.
I think that's the impression we did too.
Yeah.
Think what?
That was the impression too.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I thought. Although same color feels like maybe it's not interesting enough, but that's your call.
Maybe you could just decide not to use brick.
Yeah. Or the leaves.
Man, I'm interested in the historic nature of this building as well, and
Maybe that's
if we want to use that brick, it's gotta be painted. If we could use another material and introduce another material, but I don't see the reason for doing it.
Or talk to Angela's friends who's probably enough historic brick and put it in the village for you guys to do something interesting here.
Just painted brick.
Or with the brick.
We do it.
I just, it seems too trite to me to paint the pillars, but it's your call. I would never stop you for this.
I would chop off the globes and paint it brick. That's me.
Says the architect, But, we'll work with you. We're just, so we're continuing. You have everything you need.
Just a motion about
Okay,
So, before we do that.
Yes.
Do we need to talk any more about the parking variance?
I think they're fine with
we're
that.
fine with
Mhm.
100,
Yeah.
100 spots, we're thrilled.
Yes.
Right.
Would you,
So many empty parking around.
Yes.
Or 1,000 spots it was, yeah, we're good.
So,
Yeah.
so do we want to have a motion to approve that?
yeah, so they can go through the variance process.
Yes.
And we can recommend.
I would be happy to entertain a motion on the variance.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Variance approved.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
On the conceptual design, is there a move to continue to the next meeting with the comments that Sophie has hopefully inscribed very carefully as we've been talking about stuff, or do you need us to repeat them all?
For the motions continue?
Yeah. You've got the notes, right? Okay, all right. Is there a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Thank
To
you,
continue.
Commissioner Mather. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any conversation? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you. And
Appreciate it.
when would next meeting take place?
It's just
December 7th.
Early December?
we have to get the stuff to,
Our last line is November 10th of the next month.
we gotta get her samples of stuff and, you know,
Right.
November 10th by
it's
the
gonna
end.
be a
Okay,
sprint
The office.
between now and the 10th, yeah,
okay, thank you.
sure. You have
Thank
three
you.
cycles, right? So you want to get as much done as you can as early as you can. Thank you, Sue. Thanks, you guys.
Thank
We
you.
celebrate this business. Nice job.
Fun, Brian.
This one.
We can take a
Okay.
quick 5 minute break.
Yes, we can take a
To-
5 minute break until the next group comes up. How are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
You?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great. Do you have another one?
Sure.
I can run upstairs really quick and grab it.
If you can, that'd be great. Yes.
Oh, I'm.
I'll be right back.
Actually, keep sitting there going.
I'm trying to believe that. So it just.
Went through anything.
We could just get.
Oh, yeah.
Things open for.
Yeah.
Been up there.
Losing my fingers and the other.
Yeah, it's.
We're pretty. Yeah, yes. That's what they can. You'll get there.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It's been.
Over there.
It's
Oh, wow.
Good to see you, John.
Yes, good thing you. Yeah, me too. Hearing.
So she did not, it's not.
Really? So,
Here.
So then you have, so primarily, so. Consider downtown. Which one? That's one.
Yeah.
that's right.
We took the water back to.
But it's- there was, something extensions then.
Stay.
John's Hill. Storms almost. No, no.
There's a big range. Big range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Good.
I think that's what you're.
I'm just here in advance.
It's the butter. The bucks.
Oh, it is.
John also brought
Well, for probably, I'll interject if I need to, but.
Thank you.
Okay. Go back.
So after a short recess, are we ready to resume?
Yes.
Wait, gentlemen, would you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do. I do.
Great. And, would you like to introduce yourself for the record, please?
I am Doug Irvin. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the Stonehenge Company.
John Lyman with MA Design.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sophie.
Okay. This is application BD 23 11 007. For new construction and landscaping. This is a modification to previously submitted materials. Some exterior building materials are not specified, and we do have odd copies of the materials too. The modification to the sunshades to include louvers between the supports. Opening to the rear of the parking garage, shown as barred. The garage doors are now shown with metal grates for open glazing between the lanterns. And for landscaping, the patio is to be paved with 12-inch by 24-inch grey pavers. Proposed benches with on-site lighting. 3 new planters along the southern portion of the patio and to be internally lit. The walls of the south of the entry patio to be uplit. Climbing plants proposed for the southern wall of the patio. Patio to be screened to the north with trees and decorative shrubs. And 4 new street trees to be planted along the south front edge. There are some comments from the September 14th meeting minutes. I will skip ahead to the business meeting. Commissioners present at the business meeting requested that the applicant call out the materials and elevation drawings for clarity, provide project information for windows and doors, and provide project information for the grates on the sunshades. The grates shown on the garage window openings and for the garage ports. A complete site plan showing landscaping was also requested by the commissioners present. Commissioners also requested that the applicant clarify the materials shown as white on the front street and north elevations and the soffit material, and requested information for the floating roof. The commission would also like to see a complete exterior lighting plan, and the commission noted that it may be more effective to combine phase 1 and phase 2 into one application. Commissioners requested more information about the planting beds to the north of the front courtyard. Materials have been updated and called out on the drawings in response to feedback from the business meeting. The patio landscape plan has also been updated to show details of the planting beds to the north of the front courtyard. HPO staff would not support the addition of climbing plants per City Code Section 3116.13A, as climbing plants are not compatible with masonry. Garage door and sunshade materials have been updated per the submitted documentation. The full-scale site plan with landscaping requested at the business meeting has yet to be provided. Applicant informs that the lighting is still in the conceptual phase, so the lighting plan has yet to be provided. And phase 2 details, including the patio details, have also been provided. So staff recommends continuation of application BD 23-11-007 to allow the applicant time to gather the additional materials requested by the commission. And the basis for this recommendation is City Code Section 3116.11, standards for alteration. City Code Section 3116.12, standards for new construction. City Code Section 3116.13, standards for site improvements. The Brewery District Guidelines on design considerations, design considerations, and the short loft design guidelines on commercial structures, lighting, site life, and landscape. And that is the end of my stuff.
Gentlemen,
Good evening.
would you like, we're okay, having them describe the changes?
Sure.
We would love it if you would describe the changes for us.
We'll defer to Mr. Hyman.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, truthfully, there aren't a lot of changes per se. These are more advancements,
Okay.
through the design process. So I'm fine starting with that particular slide. The slides all in front of that are the typical floor plan, site plan, those kind of things.
Page number what?
This would be page 8
Thank
in your hard copy. So I guess the first thing to get into is these materials. These are consistent with what we've been showing or indicating in our drawings and renderings and talking about. The hard samples obviously give you a chance to take a look at the real colors as opposed to a color on a printed piece of paper. So again, I think these are all fairly consistent with what we've been talking about in the past. So relative to this, I just would ask at this point in time if you have any comments or questions regarding the exterior materials.
I don't think I would ever call that color calico blue.
I know, that's a weird one.
It is actually green. I wish they would change the name of it, but
Yeah.
it's confusing everyone.
And the colors that on those 2D elevations, those are Revit colors. So
Those are what?
Revit colors, part of the model software.
Okay,
You're better off looking at the actual renderings or
okay, which after
a more realistic representation of colors.
this.
Yeah. Which would be page 10. Yeah.
So where is the lime green? Inside the,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
John, can you tell us about the decision about the bone white in the northeast?
The what? I'm sorry.
Can you tell us about the bone white decision on the northeast corner? Metal panels that are white.
White on the northeast. corner.
Yeah. Well, we were, from a design move perspective, what we were looking at to accomplish is I don't want to say make the building into two parts, but when you look at the body of the building, it's really everything from the glass area to the left, because that's where there's the repetition with the regular units as you go south within the building. And we really wanted to kind of set off that northeast corner as something uniquely different. So the color is different, a lot more glazing in it, floor to ceiling type of thing. So a lot of transparency, trying to make that the gem, so to speak, at that corner.
Yeah.
Which then kind of balances out with the gem that we're trying to make at the south corner. With, again, a lot more glass. We have an interior 2-story space, lots of transparency, the various different steps that are in the building at that southern corner. So we're trying to anchor the two with the body in the middle. That was the design intent.
I have no problem with it. My concern is that it may look unfinished when it's done.
How so?
Like, a good example would be the White Castle development across from
On Goodale?
the original multifamily building that was built across the street. It kind of just always looks unfinished. It looks like it's just wrapped and tied up.
You're talking about that would be the north side of Goodale?
Yes.
Right by 315?
Yeah.
I hear you. They cheapen that down way too much.
That's my only concern.
Yeah. That is intended to be architectural metal panel.
This is.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of the exterior skin is intended to be architectural
So
metal
it'll
panel.
give reflectivity to it.
It'll have a sheen to it, reflectivity, much more finished, I don't want to say glossy, but
I would not ask you to change the color. I'm just stating my concern. That's all.
okay. Well, I would like to think that the fact that it is an architectural metal panel solves or addresses the concern of yours. It's not a hardy material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It is.
Oh.
Are you guys using a gray mortar on the block?
I don't think we addressed that, to be perfectly honest.
It just kind of stands out a little bit more.
Yeah.
You look at that plate.
Where would
Yeah.
it be?
So, yeah, it's purposeful.
On those?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it either way. I mean, I could see going to a darker color so that it's more of a monolithic material, or it looks more monolithic.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it blends in a little bit more to make the top pop a little bit more.
To take
The white of the crowd.
Make it white.
Panel.
less white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be fine toning that down for sure.
Not a big deal. It's just.
It's a detail. It'll show up for sure.
In this rendering, there's kind of a gradient of the panel reflectivity on the green panel. Is that accurate to what you anticipate? I mean, I think that makes sense. The color in the swatch looks darker than I think it will read in real life, so that's why I'm asking the question.
It's always a trick. This is a twin motion software, so it comes out of our Revit model. And
Right.
then you have to play with the lighting and all that other kind of stuff. And it's, it's trying to get it realistic with a computer model is always a little difficult.
Okay.
But it would have the ability to have some reflectivity with the sun. I mean, I think that's fairly close.
So it generally will read lighter with reflectivity of
I think all exterior materials change, based upon the sunlight.
Right.
No blue, we have blue sky today. It's perfect.
Right.
The transparency on the components to the right goes into that green, interior green is the same color?
Yeah, the far right corner of the building, that's the elevator lobby. So that's the vertical circulation of it. We put that in there as contrast. We haven't gotten into the interior colors and stuff, but we wanted it to read as transparent. So that was just
And which I thought was particularly powerful in the last application we had. And the lime greens, I know it's not exactly lime green, the lime green stuff reads very subdued here. Do you expect that to be the reality, or do you think it'll pop?
more subdued. I think if you push that color too much, it becomes too much.
I just was curious as to whether you thought this was real in terms of how much of an impact it would have.
We hope it is.
Um,
We're trying to keep
I
this
like it
building
because it
done.
opens up the light for that space, right? It tries to say, make it be a presence, but I just was curious as to how you thought it would end up.
So just going around the building, because I know one of the comments was the exterior materials of the building.
Yeah.
We have made the decision that the architectural metal panel is going to be the exterior skin. We, for the most part, the residential porches, the ones that are inset, we do intend that those insets to be of a hardy material because they're recessed, they're a little easier to manage. And so that kind of makes some sense there. Again, the balcony guardrails are intended to be glass. We are working through balcony details on those patios right there, the recessed balconies. Working on the guardrail mounting detail. Again, our intent is to try to keep that as thin as possible. So we're actually considering doing some of that out of steel and then cladding it. Again, trying to make it a little bit different because, wood, you get into certain limitations. The decking material, we want the deck to be solid from below. We don't want it open. We want those decks to be finished. And I think just looks much more crisper. The louvers that I have included in the package, in this particular package, are an example. We don't have the exact product picked out at this point in time. We will most likely shop it out to 2 or 3 or 4 different vendors. But that is the design intent with those louvers at that south end of the building. And the metal, the soffit, the large white soffit on the top floor and on the balconies that are on that white portion of the building is intended to be a metal panel, a metal soffit panel. So again, trying to stay away from the hardy and having just a much more cleaner, crisper looking on this building.
And I realized I've never looked at the flip side of the green building. The west facing facade. That doesn't have balconies, it's just.
That has balconies.
It does?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Essentially the same kind of beat as the,
It does.
as the front side.
Yeah. It's obviously this front side with the south corner and the north corner are the dominant elevations. So the western side doesn't have that kind of dramatic architectural language on that side. It's more obviously at these 2 corners. So if you go back to the northern corner, it would be, yeah, no, that's fine. Again, with everything being the white metal panel or the green metal panel, those ceilings there are intended to be the metal soffit panel as well. We are looking at, because of the amount of glass that we have in this building, we're going to end up with a fair amount of steel in both of those 2 smaller elevations. Trying to get as much glass span as we can, trying to keep our composite floor system as thin as we can. Those vertical column enclosures, we're just now kind of getting into the structural coordination of those, so those probably will vary a little bit in the actual finished width of it once we know more accurately what the column dimensions are going to be. So that's just, I would say, kind of more of a minor tweak. In that elevation, the planter at the lower right-hand corner, the very north, I know there was a comment that came up, yeah, right there, about that potentially going across the property line, and in reality, we are showing it across the property line, so we can fix that back, and basically that planter's on that route, that right side would end up being a four-sided planter. We were gonna try to make it, connect to the building and three-sided and let the grade do what it does, but then we would be on somebody else's property. So we do have to clean up that detail at that corner. But the intent is to keep it as consistent with that as possible. We know we can't go all the way to those steps because that's on their property. So
Without their consent.
without their consent, yeah. Yeah. The grill, the garage, again, that's an example that we have in the package there in terms of what that is and what that looks like. Again, we want to try to still keep it to a residential feel. But we do want the transparency. I'm sorry?
What was it before the mesh?
That was it before the mesh.
It was just a mesh.
Okay, so it's.
Yeah. So this is a door that, you can buy through Hamilton Park or any other one of the places here. So it is a residential garage door just with the maximum amount of glass in it.
Maximum opening.
Oh,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
there's no
well,
glass,
yeah,
so
sorry.
this is- okay.
it's mesh glass.
Right. Yeah. There were some comments or questions regarding the amenity deck finishes. We are going through an exercise right now and evaluating a couple different options on that. The basic options are a double slab detail, so it would be a finished concrete, or doing a pedestal type system. So we're looking at both those from a cost standpoint and seeing how those finish out from, yeah.
Are the louvers movable?
I'm sorry?
Are the louvers movable?
No, they'd be fixed.
Yeah, I think the comment about the patio terrace was just to see a complete site plan, of
Mhm.
all the public spaces, if you will, versus ground plane landscape, and
Mhm.
just finishing that out to the point that we can fully review it.
Okay. So as far as what would you want to see on the amenity deck?
I think we want to see finish the surface material plus any furnishings. I'm assuming they're all movable furnishings, so not, permanent structures.
I wouldn't anticipate anything's permanent, but I don't think you guys have really gotten into that level.
It would not be permanent.
Okay.
We change our mind too much.
So that's something that I think we need to have on the drawings, just, to be clear.
Do we have
that
to
they're all-
actually pick the furniture?
I think it's just saying that they're movable furnishings.
Okay. So have some sort of generic layout that.
Right,
here's
like just in the last application, we're not talking about permanent structures on them.
Which is coming very soon.
Right.
You guys anticipate issues in trying to craft this in 2 months?
Not at all.
Good.
And then I think we need to see species of plants, so the full site planting plan, landscape plan.
Sophie laid out what was missing.
I think the landscape plan was probably the
There's
bigger
one
thing
that
that
was-
was
yeah.
missing.
Right.
He said full site plan with landscaping, requested lighting, and then phase 2 details, including patio.
We do have some renderings in the back that start to talk about some of the lighting. At least from an illustration standpoint, we don't have light fixtures selected at this point. One of the things that I guess concerned us, particularly because I know there was a comment, I believe there was a comment about lighting of the existing warehouse brick and how that gets done.
Tower,
I'm sorry.
the tower brick.
Well, I
Lighting
think
the
there
tower,
was
oh,
the warehouse, but that was the warehouse. Was it both?
both.
Both.
See all the above, yeah.
Okay, so if you go back one or two, As an example, one of the concerns that we had in looking at the lighting is, if you're trying to light and this, everything's a little subjective in design, but our concern was if you try to light the masonry wall from above, that it might start to dilute some of the concept that we have going on, with the different materials and such. So we're heading in the direction of doing ground mounted lighting to highlight the brick and accent, obviously the character of what it is. And then we are looking at different kind of lighting to do highlights of that upper soffit area. And then the balcony area to the south. Those are the areas that we're kind of focused on. The balconies that are for the residential will certainly have a light out there, but we want to kind of downplay that and play up, the areas that we're trying to create so much transparency, which is the south corner and the north corner of the building. And then if you go a page or two past that, you can see just some thoughts about, what we might look at trying to do. There again, this is a tall building, it's hard to get light to throw the entire height of the building. So do you highlight it from below and light up, or do you light it from above and kind of let it flow down? So I'd be curious on your guys' opinion, because we're just getting into this particular aspect of it, but if you have a comment, I'd certainly like to hear.
Are there any guidelines as far as lighting down versus up?
I don't believe so, but I can check. I've just been looking.
I like the down. For this, I like
From
from
a practical
up to
standpoint,
front, yeah.
having it come from the top down, rather than looking out and seeing the lights. Yeah,
Well, it does highlight the top of the building, and this building will be viewed, from a distance.
Yeah.
So
Commanding.
I think if you don't light the top, you lose the top at night.
Yeah, I like the strategy of on the other side, like I have thought of only one story and then here trying to light it as much as you can.
And one thing in particular, because John had asked me earlier when we were looking at this, was did we care about the west side of this building? And I told him absolutely, because one of my best marketing windows from the Whittier Peninsula, and also it's just such a prominent building within the neighborhood. I really want this project to be a wayfinding building. So if people want direction somewhere, they can say, well, you go to Jones Hill and hang a right or go left or do whatever. And I think that with a lot of, trying to tie the existing building and the new building together, I hope we really accomplish that. And I think that I like this strategy of lighting it from the top down myself as well. Because I think it will really pronounce it and anchor that point.
And is the stair column, the only thing I worry about, I will forever regret not seeing a lighting plan for a project in the Brewery District that is a parking garage, whereas you come over the hill, all you see is fluorescent, horrible fluorescent lights, which just repeat themselves 3 or 4 deep. Never thought to ask about the type of lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we don't want that vertical column to be green fluorescent, beacon.
Green?
Tough fluorescent lights sometimes go green.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Okay.
that has to be lit
Yeah.
inside with the right kind of
Yeah, for sure.
fixtures. All right.
No, absolutely. We'd like that to look more like an ice cube than a lobotomy lab. So,
But
Algae green.
yeah,
something that's complementary to the brick.
right.
I can't, every time I come over the hill or coming from the west, I have to shut my eyes for a minute and not look at that because it's so terrible.
I've never been in a lobotomy lab, so
It's just,
not sure.
It was that eerie fluorescent glow, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, hospital fellow.
Yeah.
I think it's come a long way.
yeah, I think totally agree. It'd be great to see information about windows and railings.
Well, the windows that we submitted previously, a long time ago with the Pella windows, that is what our intent is.
Would you mind putting an updated package?
Sure,
Just so we can have it all in place.
Sure.
That was previously very standard for the district, correct?
It is, it's correct. It's their impervious series, which is the fiberglass series they just came out with. And the reason we're doing that is it's a residential product, but because of the fiberglass, the narrowness of the stiles and rails, it mimics a commercial system. But you still get the operability and some of the
Can you go
functionality.
back to the next shot again? Sorry, I love the way that the lime green stuff shows up here. Kind of intriguing at night, it's a different, standout.
No, I got you. Look on the left of the image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll see the same thing, I think, through the walkway to the rear of the new building.
To the western side of
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Jones Gable, yeah. But you're not gonna use that color anywhere on the warehouse, right?
No.
Right.
No, we'd like to keep the warehouse kind of as it is, you know, from
That's what I
a
figured.
material standpoint.
Those balconies on the tower, that middle,
No.
just,
No, we're not adding anything to the tower building, other than that stair tower.
Looks like they're Juliet.
yeah, looks like Julia.
Yeah, no.
Those are
That's
the window, the hopper windows.
I don't know what a hopper window is.
The awning ones that fold out.
Awnings you fold out that are at the bottom so you can ventilate the space.
Which kind of mirrors where is in there now, for the most part.
Yeah. You would be adding lights to the side.
Yes.
The up above,
Yeah.
We would, and there's a fair amount of repair work that has to happen there currently.
So you're gonna have it.
So it isn't like we're destroying
Oh, yeah.
perfectly good.
Yeah, yeah. Good, yeah.
Good. Any other feedback? The lightest feedback you've gotten so far? Be still my beating heart.
well.
Are you happy?
Am I happy? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are you happy with how it's evolving?
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, I've had this experience a couple of times and, you know, it's a little trying without a doubt,
No,
but you
sure.
end up with a better product,
Right.
you know, because you get the communication going and you get the people's priorities and preferences. And I think that does end up being better for everybody. So, and we've pushed the envelope and also, and you know, give credit to the developer. They are willing to push the envelope on this. I mean, they're making decisions that are not typical for a multifamily development.
We appreciate that as well.
And I think that is really important.
Wayfarer.
There you go.
So from a standpoint, you know, obviously we like to get approvals, you know, and get our certificate and so on
We're
and so
thinking you
forth.
don't want to go over the historic resources. Committee,
No,
Start all
no.
over.
We've been with this group for so long, we'd like to finish with this.
Right. We'd like that too.
Yeah, that was a little bit of news, so I was glad to hear that.
It wasn't
We found that
interesting.
yesterday,
Yeah.
so it's not
I
like,
didn't see that on the agenda earlier.
we found out yesterday, so it's not like you guys had,
That's why I told John, I said, wow, they must have a different application
Yeah.
timeline than I had.
yeah, they get to trump the agenda.
Yeah. So I'll use the word materially, as far as the design, everybody seems to be on board with the design and there's some details that need to be worked out. Is that
So let's
fair?
make sure we have all the details in the next meeting, just in case. I don't want to go to the last meeting if we don't have to.
Right.
I think it's all the required materials or approval that we need to do an approval. That's what we're asking.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to see information about the interior courtyards?
Yes, that's part of the landscape plan.
Well, he mentioned all amenity
Okay.
decks, all
Yeah.
public spaces.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm catching it. So yeah, who wants?
We'll use it.
I
Okay.
can't think of it.
But just do me a favor and coordinate with Sophie to make sure that we have the complete list of what we need. from you
Okay.
guys.
I will contact Sophie tomorrow.
Okay,
Did I do that? You in tomorrow? Okay.
because that's what we'd like to
We'll
do.
contact her, we'll make sure we have the list and coordinate timelines and
There's a question, would there be anything that could be considered as a conditional approval with the terms that would have to come back and I'm just gonna use
Next time or this time?
next time.
Yeah, not this time. Next time, potentially.
So as an example, the exterior lighting, you know, we've got to shop out some light fixtures and we've got to get those in the model. We actually have to do some mock-ups, those kind of things that's gonna take more than, 14 days.
10 days.
Yeah. And so
Be comfortable with that.
Yeah, but I think that.
that would probably be
I
the
don't-
biggest.
I think you want to get everything buttoned up with this commission if you can before.
Right.
No, we will, and I think part of the problem, and we'll get on it, because actually what we're gonna wanna do is photometric analysis as well, because it looks great in Revit model, but I need somebody that really understands lighting to say, yes, it's gonna work.
And we're cool with that.
Yeah,
because I'm-
but we have to-
I'm
we have
just saying
January
we
for
need to
that.
make January be the.
What's that?
absolute-
They're still here for January.
Yeah,
I understand.
but that's
So-
it.
But I guess from my opinion,
We
you
can
know,
get December, we can get the commission.
we can get all of this other stuff pulled together, the landscape
Yeah.
plan, so on and so forth. The lighting might be the one that lingers.
I think one thing is not a problem. One or two things is not a problem. You guys agree? Okay,
At this point, it's the site, I mean,
right. I just personally would regret having to go to a whole new commission and having one to dissect it in a way that might not be aligned, frankly, with the way we.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate your thought. Yeah, it could change directions.
We have no interest in that
Yeah.
at this time. I mean, again, we spent a lot of time with you guys, and we've had a good dialogue. I've even put that in print. I think it'd just be really nice to wrap this up, and then we all have a shared expectation to move on.
We are there.
Sounds great.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Call you tomorrow, so it'd be, thanks for your
Good.
time.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Good
We
evening.
need a motion, don't we?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue the application.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Anonymous.
Perfect. So as a point of clarification, since we continued this, then I don't need to file a new application. I just have to send you the supplemental information.
Yeah.
And when is that due?
Our deadline is the 10th, which is next Friday, I believe.
Which is a holiday. It's Veterans Day. You don't need a day off, right?
We don't get that day off.
You'll get that day off. We'll be working.
Since the holiday is the following Monday.
No, usually if it's on a holiday, we say that the day before. But I will be here at 7:30 Tuesday morning, so.
Okay.
Yes, that would be to me equivalent for Friday in my work.
As long as I receive.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.
At my desk.
Well, I'll stop you from coming in, and John will run it upstairs. Thanks.
Take care. Anything else, man?
Since we had our no-show, the first one,
Yeah.
we're going to discuss it anyway. I'll just continue it.
I vote continue. You guys are good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you think we can do it expeditiously, we'll do it. I don't remember what your recommendation was. It was approved, right?
I don't recall there being any concerns at the business meeting. There just was some
Hang on, let me know.
additional clarification. So we can run through it really quick if you would like to. I don't think it's gonna be a long one. And if it
It's
ends
pretty
up looking
straightforward.
like it will be, we
You
can
just go
continue.
for it.
That's fine, yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is at 445 South Ludlow Street, and it is for the new construction of a new metal panel enclosure beneath the existing parking ramp, with the support posts, concrete footed, steel screen paneling, and sliding steel gate to be added to the existing ramp, and the metal fabrication to be custom built, and the metal to be painted to match the building in Tricon black, and then construction of a new metal panel trash enclosure with the same materials and the same paint color. At the business meeting, the commissioners present asked if the panels would be opaque as shown on the rendering, both the crash enclosure and the ramp enclosure. The commissioners present also noted that the proposal seems to be an improvement of current conditions. A wooden panel and metal frame trash enclosure was previously approved for this location, but was never built. The steel structures will be painted to match the metal siding on the main building and the guardrails of the parking structure. And the applicant clarified that the trash enclosure would be opaque and the parking ramp would have a level of perforation as shown in some updated renderings.
Mercury up have a level of what?
Perforation.
Okay.
And staff recommends approval of application BD 23-11
No questions on yours.
005.
At least on yours.
No questions from outside. And the basis for that recommendation is City Code Section 3116.12, standards for new construction. And 3116.13, standards for site improvements.
There were comments in the business meeting as was discussed. Do we wish to repeat those? Panels would be opaque, and was the applicant at the business meeting? So they said yes or no?
They said the panels for the trash enclosure would be opaque, but under the ramp would appear more like the
Okay.
renderings. that
So
they provided.
are we okay with approving as is, or do we have conditions for the approval?
I'm okay with approving as is. I think the reason for the perforation underneath the ramp was just to make sure there's no creep out hanging in.
Okay.
Whereas like the dumpster enclosure is open occasionally.
Right,
No one wants to hang out in the dumpster anyway.
right.
So that's my interpretation. I don't know if that's their intent, but it makes sense to me.
Anybody else have any feedback or anything they'd like to say? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve as is.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Approval granted. Cool.
And that's everything I have.
And now I will entertain a motion to end the meeting.
Make a motion to end the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Mather. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Oh, staff, we appreciate your help.